Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a story from the Quran that, even though it's thousands of years old, feels like it could have been written yesterday. It's really a masterclass in how to handle those deep, profound disagreements with love and integrity, especially when it's with family. Let's get right into it.
This is a question we all have to face at some point, right? We've all been in that tricky situation. And what I find so amazing about this story of Prophet Abraham and his father is that it's not just some ancient tale. It's actually a practical guide for handling these exact moments with real grace. So let's break down how we do it. So, where does this whole masterclass even start? Well, it begins with understanding Abraham's character. The Quran makes a point to tell us that who he was is the absolute foundation of his message. His very identity is what gives his words so much weight. So what were his core traits? The Quran gives us two, right here. First, he was Siddiqan, meaning he was a man of profound truth and sincerity, just totally authentic. And second, Nabiyan, a prophet, which means his message was coming from a divine source. And that combination is so key. It gives his words both moral weight and spiritual authority. Okay, so now let's see how this character actually plays out in the conversation itself. Because he doesn't just walk in and start a fight with his father. No, instead he uses this incredible step-by-step method of compassionate dialogue. It's really brilliant. And you have to notice the very specific language he chooses. 4 times in this conversation, he starts with the phrase, Ya abati, oh my dear father. Now, that is not the language of an argument. That is the language of a loving son. He is intentionally setting a tone of respect and warmth right from the get-go. And from that foundation of love, he builds his case step by step. First, he appeals to simple, pure logic. Dad, why worship something that literally can't see or hear or do anything for you? Then, he humbly offers a better way forward, saying, follow me, not because he's superior, but because he has this divine knowledge to share. Next, he gets to the heart of it, clarifying the true spiritual problem. This isn't really about stone idols, it's about following Satan, a rebel against God. And he wraps it all up with a warning that comes from a place of pure love. I fear for you. It's not a threat, it's a cry of concern for his father's soul. But, and this is where the story gets so realistic, it shows us that even the kindest, most logical, most loving argument can be met with just pure anger, especially when you're questioning someone's deeply held traditions. And the contrast here is just, wow, it's so stark, isn't it? On one side, you've got Abraham's calm, respectful, reasoned approach. And on the other side, his father's reaction is just pure, raw emotion, anger, dismissal, and it escalates to threats almost instantly. And listen, these are not just empty words. The father doesn't just disagree. He completely shuts down Abraham's concern. He then threatens him with death by stoning, an act of extreme violence, and demands to be banished from his life. It's about as total and brutal a rejection as you can imagine. Okay, so this is the moment. This is the absolute pivot point of the story. How does Abraham respond to this fury? Does he meet anger with more anger? Nope. He gives us this powerful, powerful example of how to break that cycle of retaliation. His very first words are, Salamun alaikum, peace be upon you. Can you imagine? It's the ultimate de-escalation. He just refuses to get in the mud. And then he does something even more astounding. He promises to keep praying for the man who just threatened to kill him. He's actively modeling mercy in the face of absolute hostility. Now, Abraham does say he's going to leave, but this isn't him storming out in a rage. It's what you'd call a principled withdrawal. He is separating himself from the idolatry, from that environment, but he's not leaving with malice in his heart. Through his prayers, he's staying connected to his father. And this brings us to the end of the story, where we get to see how God rewards this incredible display of principle, of patience, and of deep compassion. So after Abraham makes this incredibly difficult choice, God doesn't just leave him alone. He blesses him, starting with 2 righteous descendants, his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob, who would both go on to carry that prophetic mission forward. And the blessings were just immense. It was so much more than just family. God granted them his mercy, his rahmah, and he gave them a lofty tongue of truth. What a beautiful phrase, right? It means their legacy, their name, would be remembered throughout history as one of honor, integrity, and truth. So the ultimate lesson here is just so powerful. That one single, incredibly difficult conversation, which was handled with so much principle and compassion, it didn't just end there. It became the seed for blessings that would span generations and a legacy of truth that we're literally still talking about thousands of years later. It leaves us with a really important question to think about in our own lives. When we're the ones facing disagreement or anger or rejection, what kind of legacy are we building? What happens when we make the choice to let our patience outlast the anger of the moment?